thank you, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yes. Thank you, everybody, for being here. You know, it was unfortunate that we had an incident happen here in our district. My name is Stephanie Nguyen. I'm your councilwoman for District 4. And we had not only, I want to thank Doc Souza for reaching out and helping us pull this together, but also say that we had quite a few community members who wanted an opportunity to talk about crime in our neighborhood, safety tips, and just to get some questions answered. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I do want to introduce a few folks that are here. Our Mayor Steve Lee is here in the back. Councilmember Steve Detrick. Councilmember Pat Hume. School Board Member Bobby Singh Allen. CSD Director Orlando Fuentes. And Josh Green, our CSD Facilities Manager. And then I also want to thank Mo, our Vice Principal here at Franklin High School, for allowing us the opportunity to partner here. And our City Manager, Jason, is here as well too, back there. So a couple of ground rules here. I just have 2 rules. There's going to be a lot of folks here that have a lot of passion and a lot of emotions that they want to share. And my 2 rules are: be kind, respectful, and 1 mic, right? Meaning there's only 1 person talking at one time. The one thing, you all seem like a really nice, friendly crowd here. And what we don't want to see is everybody shouting things out. We've got quite a few officers and deputies here who are going to be able to answer questions, but right now I'm going to turn it over to our Vice Mayor, Darren Sue.
Thanks, Stephanie. Good evening, everybody, and also thanks again for coming out tonight. You know, as a community, we come together when things happen, and I'm really proud to see folks come together here again tonight. When Stephanie contacted me to know if I'd like to be part of it, of course I accepted gratefully. Tonight, I think we want to hear from you, and we want to see how we can come together as a community, see what folks' concerns are out there, because there may be other concerns besides what happened and what transpired. But tonight, I think we want to focus on how do we move forward from things. And so I want to take a moment to introduce Sandra Abafuedes, who is very active in the Franklin community and with Franklin High School. And she's going to talk a little bit about the coming together as a community as well in the Franklin area. So yeah, come on up. Thanks, Sandra.
Okay, so about 2-3 years ago, we started the Franklin Community Association, and at first we had a lot of people show up to the meetings, and everyone was willing to step forward and take on a role and do one thing or another. And slowly with time, it kind of trickled down. And I think the reason why it kind of trickled down and our meetings started to be further apart is because everybody was happy and content, nothing was happening in the neighborhood. And when things did happen, either we met with a small group or our Elk Grove PD is very hands-on, as is our city council. And so they took care of items or issues immediately. I know a lot of the issues that the people that came to the meetings had was code enforcement. So there was a huge meeting with the code enforcement officer, and that took place a couple of times, actually, not just once. But we kept moving forward. We haven't had a meeting in a while because we wanted to make sure that it didn't get political and that it stayed about our community and it stayed about the kids, their safety, schools, safer neighborhoods, safer schools. And so we moved forward. A couple of things have been happening recently. We've been getting more messages. Elk Grove Laguna Forums got a lot of messages. People were worried about which way the community was headed, what was happening, if people were still being proactive and moving forward, ensuring that our community stays and maintains the safe place that it is, because it's our kids. I have 3 kids here. 2 of them come to Franklin, 1 goes to Toby. Stephanie has kids, Darren has kids. Bobby, you have kids in the neighborhood. We all do. So this is our neighborhood. And that's why it's important to us to make sure that it stays the place that it is. So moving forward, I'm taking notes on behalf of our Franklin Community Association on the issues that are most important, and then we're going to prioritize from then. We're going to be having a meeting very soon and starting it all over again. We have our banners, we have our website, it's still up and running, we have our Facebook page. We're going to talk about neighborhood associations, What we would like to do moving forward, we had a telephone meeting earlier today, is to have like a parent that gives us information on what's going on at Costello, what's going on at Arlene High, at Carroll Elementary, because this location has 6 elementary schools, the high school, and the middle school. So that majority of the people that live here have students at one of the schools. So we want to make sure that it maintains and stays the safe place that it is. And if anything does happen, like what has been taking place, that it's taken care of immediately. We're very blessed to have a police department that the minute something happens, you email Chief Nolly, he emails you back within an hour. You contact code enforcement calls you back right away, or they come and they try to take care of the issue. Same thing with our council members. This happened, it was all over social media. They contacted right away, should we have a meeting? Would you be able to co-host with us? Where could we have it? Immediately. It didn't come out of us, it came out of them. So in being proactive, I just want to make sure that you all know, like Stephanie said, be kind, be respectful, let's move forward. We're all family together, we all live in the same community. I don't watch a lot of the kids, but I have a lot of your kids in my house, my kids might be at your house, and that's how it is. We all grow up together, we raise our kids together. So let's move forward, and based on the information that we get tonight, we'll contact Elk Grove PD and get some more information that is more in detail of the things that happen here. And we'll talk about Neighborhood Watch. We've had our Neighborhood Watch officer come out a couple of times, but that way we can get neighborhood leads. Because if there's one issue happening in a certain area, then we can take care of that with the leads that are in that area. Like, I know my neighborhood, so I can contact the people within my neighborhood. So we want to make sure that as big as Elk Grove is, it's still small enough where we know everyone and we can definitely take care of the issues at hand or that happen right away. But I'll get my information out at the end of the meeting, but I guess going forward, we're gonna see what the issues are, but definitely we're taking notes. And if anyone has any questions, or if you would like to be part of the association, we're gonna create a new board. Let me know, I'll be sitting right up here in the front. Let me know afterwards, and we'll definitely have that community meeting. I know we have one scheduled in November. If you want to talk sooner, because I know a lot of people want to go ahead and meet beforehand, we can definitely do that as well.
Thank you, Sandra. So, you go, Stephanie?
Yeah, so thank you, Sandra. Again, I will say that we're really fortunate to have her be a part of our forum here, because she is the type of parent that we would love to see more often in this community. She's involved not only in her school, but also in the community as well, too. So we're very fortunate to have her be a part of this forum. I want to next introduce our deputies and our officers here, and they're going to talk a little bit about what their role is. We have from the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Sham, who is an SRO, School Resource Officer. We have Officer Ramirez, and we have Detective Monroe here. So I'm going to pass the mic on to them so that they can share a little bit about their role and maybe some questions they'll be able to answer later on today.
Hello, my name is Deputy David Schramm. I work for the Sheriff's Department. Can you guys hear me good?
Yeah.
And my role is basically the Sheriff's Department contracts with Elk Grove Unified School District. There's 10 of us, and a lieutenant that's assigned to this division, permanently. And our role basically is safety and security of the school and the students and the staff. So my particular assignment is Franklin High School. So I'm in charge of Franklin, the charter school, Toby, and the 5 elementary schools that feed into Franklin. So I see my primary role is protecting the kids in the campus. So the thing that I take personal is that I try to make sure that outside influences don't affect the kids that are at this school. I mean, it's typically not a big problem here. I mean, this is a great neighborhood, and I've worked at other schools, and I see what my partners deal with at some of the other schools, and this is a really great school in a district because of my opinion. And this, nothing I say is the Sheriff's Department's opinion. It's mine. It's parent involvement, and that's why this school, for being the largest school, is one of the best schools, I believe. But my goal is to primarily, like I said, keep everybody safe. Secondary would be making relationships or developing relationships with the kids and trying to, give them advice. I have 6 kids of my own that are in or have been through Elk Grove Unified School District. So, you know, I love kids and they're important to me. So I see that as another one of my roles. And then theoretically, what the Sheriff's Department's role is we're in charge of your kids when they're here on campus and when they're coming and going. So typically, when they leave your house with their backpack or they get home with their backpack at the end of the school day, that's our involvement. Their Elk Grove Police Department, from starting, I think, year before last, started having a couple officers work with us, which has been great, because now we have more communication. So any kind of situation that we have or they have, we work really well together now, which is, I believe, it's really helped out, because we have different communication systems and computers and databases, and it's been a great benefit. And so my role is like I said, protecting the kids, the staff, trying to mentor the kids, and then also try to just deal with things that are criminal. Our goal isn't to be the strong arm of the school district. It's to help the kids and to do what's best so they can move forward. You know, kids make mistakes, and we try to let the school handle that best we can. And that's pretty much it.
Good evening, everyone. I've met some of you guys before at some of our neighborhood watch meetings. My name is Christina Ramirez. I am a community service officer, crime prevention officer with the Elk Grove Police Department. Just a little background, I've been in crime prevention for 1 year with our department, but I have been with the department since 2006. So my interest is not only you guys, but I live here too. So all your concerns and all your questions that you may have, I have them too. Because again, I live here, I have children that go to school, live in this area as well. So I'm here to help you guys this evening. My primary reason for being here this evening is just to give you some crime prevention advice, some tips, anything that you guys can do to help your children, help you guys stay safe, and in this situation, maybe to and from school, and just to educate you guys on when you can call us, because you guys have to remember, we're not everywhere. When we come into your neighborhoods, crime stops. As soon as we leave, we depend on you guys to call us, contact us, and let us know what's going on in your neighborhoods. Those are your homes, and it's up to you guys, or excuse me, up to all of us to work together to stop crime in your neighborhoods and do the best that we can for our children.
Good evening, I'm Nicole Monroe. I'm a detective with the police department. My specialty is sex assaults and child abuse, but I have been an officer in this area since 2011 with the police department, and before I promoted to detective 3 years ago, I was patrolling this area. So I may have been in contact with a lot of your kids at that time as an officer working in this area. I'm here because after an officer takes a report, the initial report from a victim or a witness regarding an incident, it gets turned over to us in the detective unit. And then we do all the follow-up, the arrest warrants, the search warrants, everything that is after the fact of that initial report. So anything that can't be handled on the day of the event, then we are the ones that are responsible for dealing with it.
Thank you very much, officers, for being here this evening. And I also want to take a moment to thank Elk Grove Laguna Forums and Jackson Chronicles, Elk Grove Tribune for also being here and streaming this. If you have questions that pop up on your screens, go ahead and shout them out. We can take that input as well from there. So at this time, you know, what you've heard, I think the consistent theme is we all care about community, we care about our kids, we care about having a safe, quality life living here in the city. And so I want to open it up out to all of you, and let's start hearing from you what your concerns are, and maybe what input you might have going forward. What we can do let's see what we can do to make things better in our community. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Raise your hand, or we'll bring a mic over to you, or we'll circle around. Everyone do. I see somebody want. Anybody have any comments? No?
Why are you all
Questions?
here?
There's one. Lily?
So there may be questions that we're not going to be able to answer tonight. And so what we're going to do is have a parking lot, which if there are any questions that are asked and we're not able to answer, we're going to get back to all of you. So I will be putting things on the parking lot if it needs to be.
I very much appreciate a parent stepping up as you have. I'm not a parent in this area though. My son goes to CO at Pinkerton, and I actually live on the east side of town. My concern is, can we do what we're doing for this area for some of the other schools? And if you need a parent to step up, I can help with that.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll circle back with you. Thank you for stepping up.
So, can you tell me you have 2 council members here?
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, that's right. So Councilmember Detrick, Councilmember Hume represent the east side of town. So, they're listening.
Friday night, we got an east side.
Yes, we do. Councilmember Detrick's reminding me that District 1 and District 3 is doing a joint neighborhood community event this Friday evening at Elk Grove City Hall at 6 o'clock. So if you live in District 1 or District 3, come on out. Thank you, Councilman Detrick. Yeah.
Hi, what I'm hearing, at least initially, is this more student-centric, this meeting, or is this community safety and policing centric?
It's both. It's
It's
both.
both.
Yes.
Okay, because everything I've heard is our children, our children, our children. And I work for the school district, so I absolutely do care about our children. But I'm very concerned with the rising rate of interactions between almost adult teenagers and younger students that are being preyed upon. And I see this, if we will, linear going forward. They're going to start going for older and older people. And I live by Morse Park. There's a lot of people that are advanced in age. They're easy targets. What's the plan to make sure our parks are safe when people are out and about?
More of a CSD question. I mean, I can try to answer the question. That's actually a very good question. That would be more of a CDS question, but we are still here. CSD is still part of our community. The best thing we can advise to everybody is that to walk in groups. Don't walk too late. If there are any lights out in your neighborhood, in the parks, make sure you contact us and let us know. What we need to do is work together to stay safe. Our children, have them walk together. And when you guys do see suspicious activity, make sure that you contact us. If you see a group of kids that are, they look like, it's okay to hang out with your friends. It's okay for them to walk down the street. But if you notice that they may be causing problems in the neighborhood, something that you maybe think is suspicious or they're going to cause harm to someone, we need you guys to contact us. What we'll do is send one of our officers out to contact those kids. Sometimes they're just having a good time playing around. We'll contact them and we'll come to that decision, but you never know. If you call us, or excuse me, if you don't call us, we can't go out there and contact those kids. We don't know what's going on. But if you do call us, what we do is just go out there and talk to them. They could be just a bunch of kids having a great time. We talk to them, let it go on their way. Or they could have been a group of kids that are, thinking about committing a crime or in the process of committing a crime, and you could have just stopped a crime. So what we need you guys to do would be the eyes and ears of our community. Make sure you're calling us. If you're not quite sure if it's something that you should be calling us for, then call us anyways. We're going to ask you a series of questions. Stay on the phone with the dispatcher and let us make that decision for you. Does that pretty much answer your question? To a certain extent. Are you asking more like when they're in the parks, our elderly and our young youth are out, what we can do to best protect them? Okay. I would say just have our kids, younger kids, stick together in groups. The more people you have walking together usually is a safer group. There is no crime-free neighborhood. There isn't, but we can do our best to make our neighborhoods be as crime-free as possible. So if our kids just stay together, group together, and if you do see some older kids, passerbys, if you think the older kids are picking on the younger kids, call us and just let us know and we'll go out there. Especially with our elderly too. Just keep an eye on our elderly and let's just look out for each other. That's the best answer I can give you. Because we can't just go out and contact some kids and say, hey, we think you're up to no good. What we can do best is just protect ourselves and teach our community to protect themselves the best they possibly can.
Well,
So I can't give you a better answer than that.
No, but that's a great start. One, call the police department. That's one of the things we hear constantly. I think a lot of my colleagues hear the same thing. And it doesn't mean post it on next door, okay? If you do that, make sure you're still calling, because I can't tell you how many times I've seen things posted on next door, and I have to take a snapshot of it and text it to the police department and then have them react, because our police department can't see into next door. So please know that. Call the police department. If you want to post on next door to warn all the neighbors, that's fine, but make sure you call the police department. The other thing from a city perspective, we're on a mission to hire more officers. So we have budgeted to hire more officers, 4 or 5 a year. We're on that consistent path. If we can allocate more funds, we will, and try to hire more and deal with attrition and deal with training new officers and those kinds of things. So we will work on doing that part. But as mentioned earlier, the third prong is us as a community, coming together as a community, watching out for one another, getting to know your neighbors. Things like National Night Out is great. We should have it more often, right? And we can do between the 4 or 5 of us. We can go out there and help you guys coordinate, come to your neighborhoods, and let's do National Nights Out every quarter. It doesn't have to be just once a year, but let's do things where we can bring each other together as neighbors to get to know each other on that basic human level, know our neighbors, recognize who belongs in the neighborhood, who doesn't, and those kinds of things. Then, as we learn to watch out for one another, we've got more eyes on the street, as what the officer was talking about. There's more eyes on the street, and we can look out for one another better. Okay.
I'm sorry, can I touch on that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Just to give you guys a little bit of information, crimereports.com, has anyone signed up for that and get that on their, nextdoor.com? Okay, I'm on Nextdoor too, but it's only for my neighborhood specifically. So I have seen some posts on there that should be reported to our department, but they're not. So what we need you guys to do, if you do see anything on nextdoor.com, or you need to post anything on there that you think an officer or the police department should be educated on, please call us, because we can't see that. Only the neighborhood itself can see it. We do have our own private nextdoor.com, but all we can see is what we post. We can't see what everybody else is posting, so it's very important that you guys call us and let us know. Just call the non-emergency number. And to piggyback off of our reporting crimes in your neighborhood, you have to remember that how the department works and how the city works is that our officers get hired depending on the calls for service. So if there's crime in your neighborhood and you guys aren't telling us, that means that there's one less officer on the street, because that's how they decide how many officers that they're going to hire for our department depending on our staff. So it's very important that you guys call us and report crimes that are occurring in your neighborhood. There are multiple ways of reporting crimes, even if it's very small, your car being broken into or your flower pot being taken from the front porch of your house. Those are all things, if you don't call us, we will not know about, and that's how we get more officers to protect you guys in your neighborhoods.
I know this come up the other night, but for this forum, I'd like to ask a question. I noticed that, we have noticed that a lot of these crimes are captured through home video recordings. So my question is there a program attached to Elk Grove Police Department that those videos can be streamed, or that camera can be streamed to the department? And if so, how does that work?
That is a great question, and that's a great resource for you guys to work with us, because that's how a lot of our crimes are solved. On crimereports.com, anyone familiar with that? Okay, I actually brought some resource papers for you guys to look that information up. It's a great tool, not only for you guys to register your cameras online with us, it's a great tool for you guys to see what reports and what crimes are being reported in your neighborhood. All you need to do is type in your address, and all the crime that it has been reported in your neighborhood will pop up on your screen 6 months back. So if you can make the area really big, you can make it really small, but that's a great tool for you to see how much crime is actually occurring in your neighborhood. You don't need a username, you don't need an account or anything. All you need to do is go online, punch in your address, and you can see all the crime that is being reported in your neighborhood. And another note, the cameras, if you can go online to crimereports.com, you can register your cameras. So if there's any crimes in your neighborhood and we think your camera may have captured the incident, what we do is now we have your contact information and we will contact you because you guys have registered your cameras online. Another thing that we do, I'm sorry, sir, go ahead. Another thing that we do whenever there is a crime in a neighborhood, such as a burglary or a stolen vehicle, anything major that we may look to you guys for help, what we do is we do a canvas. We'll go around and we'll knock on every single door that we think may have seen what occurred, and also we'll drive around your neighborhood and look for the cameras on the outside of the exterior of your home. If we do see that there are cameras or we think that you may have saw something, we will leave an information card on your door if you don't answer. I know I've done that all the time, and let me let you know, we have gotten a lot of video footage of crime because we went from door to door, because we actually are interested in solving these crimes. And as soon as we do obtain that information, we'll send it over to our detectives who will look into it further, and we'll try to collect that information, the video from you, so we can send it to our detectives to look further into.
And one thing that's important to know is how your recording system works so you can retrieve that video. Because a lot of times it is only like a 30-second blip depending on your surveillance video. So make sure you're aware of how your video surveillance works, because if it's only set off by motion and it's only a 30-second clip, that's only going to help so much. If you have a DVR, it's going to be able to store it more and you'll be able to access it longer. So just make sure you're aware of that now before something, if it were to happen and we need that video and we're not able to get it. So if you're able to set that up now and make sure that it is recording and it is working well and you know how to operate it, it'll be more helpful later on and we can access that video quicker.
Has there been an increase in crime in this area? I know that some people were here because of the crime that happened against the Toby student, but the only community meeting I remember was a couple of years ago when a similar incident happened to another boy walking home down McLean, so kind of in that same area.
To be honest with you, it depends what part of the city you live in, but as a whole, our city,
like in this district.
In this district, the crime is actually going down. It's not going up. You just have to remember when something this horrible happens, it gets all the media attention, it's magnified. It is a horrible event, and we don't ever want this to happen to any of our children. But it gets a lot of publicity, and it makes our neighborhood and it makes our community look a lot worse than it actually is. In reality, you guys live in an awesome community, but we have to work together to do our best to stop any crimes against any children or anyone in our neighborhood, and that's why we need you guys. So in the crimereports.com, that is a great tool. Put in your address, and you can actually see what's being reported in your neighborhood. And sometimes your neighbors say, my car was stolen, or my house was broken into, and you go online and it's not even there. So what we have to do is we have to encourage our neighbors and our family members who live in this community to report these crimes, because that's how they are solved. That's how we can work better together. But to answer your question again, crime is going down. I'm sorry I can't give you the actual percentage or specifics on that, but it really isn't that bad. This is a great community.
So with those two incidents that received pretty big media attention, what were the similarities in those two crimes against those two boys?
Well, unfortunately, I did not write the report and I did not respond to either one, so I really
Does a detective or Officer Schramm know?
I can't tell you. I don't know the one that you're speaking of on McLean. But I would say most likely it's going to...
Yeah, I think it happened about it was about 2 to 2.5 years ago, but we had another community meeting, which was probably like 3 times the size of this one, that happened over at Toby Johnson. And, there was a boy that was held up at gunpoint on McLean, really right after school. And I just wanted to know, it happened within, not even a quarter mile from where this one happened on Swan, so.
And these are all random acts. It's not like they're targeted incidents, and that's typically the majority of crime are random acts. So there's, like Christina's already said, the biggest thing is community involvement. If we're able to get the community involved and get you guys working with us to not only report what you guys see, but also help and reach out when you hear of things or see things, whether it be on social media or through your kids or through your neighbors. If you can report it to us, it helps us. We have an anonymous tip line as well that is very helpful. If you don't want your information being put out there, you can go through the anonymous tip line, but it is helpful if you were to put your information so we can ask follow-up questions and get more details if you have it.
What's
So,
the number to the anonymous tip line, and can we text to it?
I believe you can text to it. I know you can email for sure. If you go onto our website, there is a link to it. So I can try to look it up real quick and we can get it on the board for you.
That would be a great resource for the high school kids and the middle school kids to have that number in their phone as well if they see something right away. You know, so I mean that's something that, you know, all kids in Elk Grove should have, because if they see something, they may be afraid to say something right then, but they can be texting and nobody would ever know that anything is going on. So if the city of Elk Grove and Elk Grove PD were able to kind of market that to the kids, that they can actually, they have a way instead of just calling 911.
So
Yeah, that's actually a great idea.
I did bring these pamphlets, and inside has a bunch of numbers in here. Please take one on your way out. Additionally, please make sure that you fill out the sign-up sheet there where it has your name, phone number, and email so that we can follow up with all of the questions being asked today. We'll be able to send it out to all of you. So we'll get you the non-emergency number, but also this here has all of the numbers on there.
Also that resource paper that I have on it, there's tons of information, websites, our non-emergency crime prevention, and I actually think that tip line is on there as well. That is on there. Feel free to grab one when you leave, please, or I can pass them out to you. This is what your tip information, that's actually a great idea. What we do have those, just when you guys call into dispatch, you can just call the 9-emergency number and you want to submit an anonymous tip. Feel free to do that, because just let them know, hey, I don't want any repercussions of calling in. You can leave your information, and you don't have to leave your name or anything. Just let them know whatever information you want them to know, and it'll get passed on to the person that it needs to go to.
Hi, my name is Nathan Champion. I've actually been doing a lot of research on crime in our neighborhood. It is true that overall crime has decreased about 2% per year for the last 3 years, but aggravated assaults actually are on the rise, about 2 to 3% per year. And Elk Grove reports in 2016, which is the most recent uniform crime reporting data, Elk Grove aggravated assaults is actually in the top top third of all other similarly sized cities in California. So it's about double the amount that Roseville has and other similar sized cities. So that's been a very big concern of mine. I'm actually trying to get a bunch of people to go to City Hall October 10th on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Vice Mayor Swin has been very supportive in wanting to hire extra officers, so I really appreciate his support. But I think that will help if we have more police on the roads and more police available, then maybe that could be more of a deterrent. But I also wanted to bring up, I've been talking with the city, and it seems like we might be able to do this. I have a bunch of cameras on my house, and I know that this most recent event was really kind of brought to light and was able to be prosecuted better because it was caught on camera. What I'd like to see the city do, if possible, is on neighborhood watch signs, because the city already sells those, but I'd like there to be another version that has some sort of language on there that says like this area is under video surveillance. I've been in talks with the city, so I know that they're working on it. There's some legal things to figure out, but I think that for neighbors that do have cameras in the area, if we can put signs up on the signposts so that students see these as they're walking home from school and stuff like that, it might be more of a deterrent, because I really feel strongly that we need to keep, our pedestrian thoroughfares where children are walking home, as safe as possible. I mean, there's just, I absolutely agree with you. I remember that incident when that student, he got held up at gunpoint and robbed of his shoes and his phone. And that's what happened again. So I don't know that these are random acts. I think that these students are being targeted for what they have, and I tell my kids, don't show your cell phone, don't walk with your cell phone out, but you guys know how kids are. They don't listen to what we tell them to do all the time. But just because they're ignorant and don't know how to take their own measures to be safe doesn't mean that somebody else can go attack them. So everything that we can do, I think, is really important. I'd really like to see those signs. I think it's the cheapest, easiest thing that we can do that will actually have a measurable impact, especially if we can, record more of these incidences. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vice Mayor, can we take maybe a 3-minute intermission because we have a special guest here, or do you want to take that next?
Yeah, go ahead, we'll come back. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I said earlier I wanted to move forward, but there's, and this in a way is still moving forward. Out of a horrible, tragic event, I think we have an opportunity to actually look at the positive side, and that is there's a young man here this evening that stepped in when he didn't have to, when he was all alone, took it upon himself, saw what was going on, and he stood up for the victim. And so I want to recognize and call up here Orly Martinez. You want to come up here, young man? Orly's here with his dad, Orlando. And where's your mom? I know your mom's in the audience here. Okay, there. And where's Grandma? Did I see Grandma? Oh, fantastic. Okay. And Grandpa too. Okay. Well, and I know your teammates are out here watching you too. We were waiting for practice to get done. Coach let him out a little bit early so he can get dressed in an awesome 49er shirt. Sorry if anybody's out there. I'd make that plug. But so we just want to take this opportunity. We're going to recognize you formally on Wednesday night. But tonight, we're having this event, and we just wanted to, just show you how much grateful we are for what you did. And I know your parents, your grandparents raised you right. I mean, you guys couldn't be more proud, I'm sure. And so, Councilman Webb, you want something?
I'd asked him if he could say a few words, and he was more than willing to, so I'm going to give it over to him.
I just want to say thank you for all you guys that are coming out. I can see that you guys genuinely care about your community, and that makes me happy. About the whole incident, I'm just happy that he's okay now, and he knows that there's someone out there that's looking out for him, no matter who you are, and it doesn't matter who you are or where you go to school, that we shall protect one another, no matter what the circumstances are. Thank you.
Well, we heard you like to eat, Orly. And so we took it upon ourselves to get you a little something, and hope it'll last you good. It looked like it might only last you a snack, right? So that our young man here, this is fantastic. And also, we're not done yet. The mayor came tonight, and I know he would like to give you something. Again, we're going to do something official for the whole council on Wednesday, but I would really appreciate you. Thank you very much. Mayor Steve Lee.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and congratulations, for being honored tonight. I had an opportunity to talk with Mr. Martinez, and he had called me, and we had a conversation. And this is an opportunity for us to acknowledge something that's very positive. It is a teaching opportunity, and so for what you did, even though you're super humble, you're saying it's so little, but yet it is important. Bad things happen when good people don't do anything. And I think that this is really an opportunity for us to acknowledge the character that you have, the teachings of your grandparents and also your father. And so what I did was I have something a little bit special for you. And officially, you'll be recognized by a whole entire city council on Wednesday, and we'll embarrass you completely. But tonight's just our chance to just give a little bit of something. And what I have is the mayor's medal of appreciation. I'd like to present this to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Yeah. Actually, it was back here. Question.
This got me kind of choked up a little bit, but what I want to know about is my daughter. I have a daughter who goes to Franklin, and a lot of the kids are dealing with social media bullying, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I like the tip line, or the texting tip line, but a lot of the kids don't want to tell who they are. So I don't know how we would solve that. Because the social media bullying leads to, I'm going to beat you up after school, and this is where that aggravated assault happened, and so it all kind of ties together.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. School board member Bobby Singh-Allen's here tonight. I know she's been a big advocate on anti-bullying, and so she has something to say.
Great, thank you. And thank you for that question. So we actually are going to be implementing, basically it's an anonymous online reporting option. And so we're going to be launching that very shortly. We're working through the glitches right now. But it's going to be a tremendous opportunity for anybody. It's not just for students. It could be a colleague or anything. But it's an opportunity to let the school district know and to let board members know sort of what's happening on the campuses and provide a very safe outlet for the students and others to let us know sort of what's happening and then provide the necessary resources to help address it. But there are a number of resources. I would encourage you to contact your schools. There are resources available for dealing with bullying, but with social media, it is, I think it's just one of those things that not every, school districts haven't been as prepared to address because it's so viral and it's instant and it goes to thousands and thousands of people. But I'm a mother, and as a mother, I also take that responsibility seriously to watch over my children and have a good understanding of their social media imprint of what they're doing. So it also requires us to be active parents as well. But we're all in this together. It takes a village to raise a child, but we as parents are responsible to know what our children are doing, what they're doing online. You should have access codes to your children's social media. You should be friends with them and see what they're doing because it is, again, it is being responsible. It is being a parent. But I am very excited about launching this new program for our online reporting, which will go a long way. I'm a parent of a child who was bullied when he was in elementary school, and it is one of the things that propelled me to run for being a school board member. So it is something that's very near and dear to my heart, but we still have a long way to go. There are resources available now, but it does require all of us that we're in this together. The say something, do something is very important. Being a bystander is one of the things that perpetuates bullying. So that is something that we do teach in our schools. But young man, what you have done, I'm not sure an adult could even intervene the way you did. It's so remarkable, and you're truly a hero and what I would consider to be a true role model for our youth. You saw a young kid getting attacked, and you took it upon yourself, regardless of your safety, to intervene and help out. We could all learn from him because, how many of us would actually intervene like that? I like to think all of us would, but you know what? It's amazing how many don't step up. And so I congratulate you one more time. And please reach out to me. I'm available in the school district. My personal cell phone is on there. If you need additional resources, I'm always available. Thank you.
I'm going to have Detective Rowe chime in a bit. And I know we have our anti-bullying mom here in the audience, and I want her to say a few words as well too.
Just something real quick. Make sure that you're aware of who your kids are communicating with online, because nowadays they can communicate with anything. It's endless. Make sure their privacy settings are to the max. So only the people that are able to communicate with them are their friends or on their friend list. and make sure those people on their friend list are people they actually know and are friends with, if possible. Because a lot of times people will act like they're a 13-year-old or 12-year-old, whatever it may be, to become friends with your child. So just make sure they actually know that person from school or whatever it may be, and that's how they're friends with them on these social media sites, because otherwise that could cause a lot of trouble as well.
Hi, I wanted to touch on the cyberbullying thing. I guess some people will call me a helicopter parent about this stuff. I have my kids' passwords. They don't have access even to their iTunes account passwords, so they can't download Snapchat without my knowing. They can't create a new Instagram without my knowing. I'm constantly, just from parent to parent, I take screenshots. My kids have been cyberbullied, aside from being bullied in school and stuff. And my kids don't tell their friends. Their friends don't need to know that mom is looking at their Instagram every day, but I am. Because if something's happening, I'm not just looking out after my kids, I'm also looking at what everyone else's kids are doing. And some of the things that you would see kids doing on Instagram, and the way they speak to each other, and the things they say to each other, it's kind of shocking, even how often they'll say, like, you should go kill yourself. That's something my son was told in person by his bully, but I've seen kids say that to each other on Instagram and stuff. I even intervened one time. There was a young lady who made a couple posts about wanting to kill herself. And I internet sleuthed and found her mom on Facebook and messaged her, and her mom was thankful that I intervened. A stranger, I didn't know her daughter. Her daughter was like, Instagram friends with my son. Anyway, you just gotta do your due diligence and like really be involved. And that was something I wanted to say about what happened is a lot of parents are not involved. A lot of parents, it seems like the minute they hit 7th grade and can walk to school and they feel like their kid is safe, they just kind of check out. They're not looking at what they're posting online. They're not involved. They don't know who their friends are. They don't ever look at Synergy to see what their grades are. And then we always hear kids will be kids, boys will be boys. That's one of my pet peeves of sayings, because no, kids can be like this young man. We need more kids to behave like this young man and not be cyberbullies and not pick on each other. And anyway.
I'm gonna have one more thing to share.
So it's not my daughter that's being bullied, but I know all of her friends, and they talk to her. And she even called me today crying because of another student. But I say, go talk to the principal. Go talk to him. They don't want them to know, because then they'll get beat up after school. So that's the situation we're dealing with. It's not, if it was my kid, yeah, I mean, I'm there. She has older sister. I mean, but I don't know what to do when she comes and says, my friend's being bullied, she wants to kill herself now, this kind of stuff.
I think like Ms. Singh Allen said, if you know of anything at all, you have to go to the school, because the district has tons of programs and resources between the vice principals and the campus supervisors and the counselors and the psychologists. There's a whole team that are there for the children, and you'd be surprised, like Franklin has 4 vice principals and 7 campus supervisors, and they know all these kids, and they may have different names on their social media and stuff, but they know who they all are. And there's plenty of ways, like, we're fairly smart about it, as far as, like, I tell kids all the time, go say you have to see the school nurse, or, there's ways to come to us, and we're very good at being discreet. But if we don't know, like, we hear about stuff way after the fact a lot of times, and I think if we knew a little sooner, we could do more or help out more.
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
I know your daughter's at Franklin Elementary. Oh, to Franklin High School. So Franklin High School has something called I Care slips, and they're anonymous slips that either or any student can fill out. You can either put your name on it, but you put like, I care enough about so-and-so, and you can write the problem or the issue that they're having, and it can be anonymous, and you put it in a box, just randomly throughout the day. Our counseling department, we have, I can go on and on about our school. Our counseling department takes those notes, they call the student in immediately, then they go, you know, they say somebody cared enough about you to write this anonymous note, and they feel that you need help, or is there anything that we can do for you? And sometimes the students won't take the initiative to go speak to a counselor or to a vice principal because they feel that maybe it's not important, or because they're caught up in meetings. And that's why our school decided to start those I Care slips. And they've been, I want to say, I don't know if successful is the right word because of the issues that I know that sometimes they deal with, but I know our counseling department has also gone as far enough where a student at our school was told by another student at a different district, a different city, that they wanted to commit suicide, and our counselor called their counseling department, talked to them, and made sure that that student came in. So I know something that's working at our school, that they're going above and beyond. We have a great SRO, a great administrative team here. Our teachers are amazing. Our counseling department shadows everyone, and I think that what Orly did is something that is not that uncommon with our kids here, because I think the support that we have is so great. You know, starting with our Elk Grove Unified School Board and everybody that's over there, that you guys are so hands-on, and immediately when there's an issue, you try to address it. And back to your question, when you said you wish that you had a parent that's super involved at your school. I know I'm the one that's up here and I'm talking, and the name was on the flyer, but we have an amazing booster board, and there are a lot of moms and dads, and I'm just gonna point you out real quick because you guys are always there to help out with anything. And it's Cecilia Jimenez is right here. She's our vice president. Tony Elena Williams, she's our secretary. Rebecca Pearson is a parent that's always involved with us, and Teresa Amaral is way back there. So it's not just me, it's a group of parents that are all super dedicated, super involved, because we all live here. Our kids go to this school. This is our home. So I just wanted to let the parent know that if you can always contact to our counseling department, if there's anything going on, you call, you let them know, they'll get back to you. Especially if it's anything that has to do with immediately. I'm gonna be honest with you, if it has something to do with changing a course, it might take a day or two, but if you feel like your daughter's health is in jeopardy or something else is going on, go ahead and give them a call, and that happens. But we do see a lot of those I Care slips coming in, and like I said, I don't know if successful is the correct word, but I know it's being proactive, and it's taking care of a lot of issues, and they're on top of that.
Thank you, Sandra. You know, what she just talked about, her involvement in neighborhood associations, you heard Board Member Singh Allen talk about it takes a community. It's not just for our kids, but for all of us here that live in Elk Grove. I refuse to believe we can't conquer this. You know, when I grew up, if I got out of line, the adult across the street would make sure that they knew I was doing something wrong. You know, and we may have gotten away from that a little bit. Technology might have made things a little bit more challenging because of the bullying online, and we adults don't always see it. But we have resources here, and I want you guys to know all that. We have resources. You guys are here tonight, you care. Your council is here tonight, we care. Sandra and her colleagues are here tonight. The Neighborhood Association cares. What we have to do is be diligent, really talked about earlier. We have to be diligent upon ourselves, take it upon ourselves to reach out for that help, find that help, and together we will make things better. Might not be tomorrow, but again, it takes diligence, takes some time. For all of us working together, we can make things better. Does somebody else want to?
Hi. Okay, I'm going to say something that's probably not quite as well received, but in the many, many years I've been with the district, I'm seeing more and more of an attitude given that there's not enough punitive being done to the perpetrators. I refer to them as predator prey, the wasp and the peanut butter sandwich. Not enough is being done to the wasp, and I'm talking punitively. These kids are being imbued with a layer upon layer of Teflon mentality, well, I got away with this, they're not gonna do anything to me. Now I can do a little bit of this. And it's just a slap on the wrist. It's a little this. It's an on-campus suspension. I'm not saying we go back to the 1900s where children should be seen and not heard and, beat with a cane or whatever. But I am saying, how about if administration throughout the district steps up and levies a consequence that pinches a little more instead of I don't understand why you're doing this. This is so hurtful. What was going on in your heart when you did that? Give them a suspension. Give them a consequence. Put something that stays on their record so that these little predators can be tracked. All this cyberbullying and stuff, let it be known. There's school district policy against that. Do something about it. Stop with the touchy-feely. Let's get a little more punitive so that people whose children are kind, are the peanut butter sandwich, don't have to fear the wasp so much.
Board Member St. Allen just left. But we will, I know, that's okay. We'll relay that though. We'll relay that to her, the board. Yeah, we'll relay that to the board. Thank you for the input. Yes, Randy.
I'm sorry, I just took
I know that we have approximately 140 plus sworn officers.
46.
146. I think that number is not clear to residents or citizens of Elk Grove. Because I know that what the word sworn means. That doesn't mean there's 146 officers on the street. And that needs to be addressed on how many officers we actually have on the street. Because we have detectives that do follow-up, even though their job is on the street. However, they're not the arriving officers. They're not the officers that go through the neighborhoods. Another thing with that, it would be also helpful to explain what a CSO is and how they work and what their job duties are. We're reading a lot on social media about, as Nathan brought up, wanting to increase per capita the number of officers. But if we don't have a starting point of what our street officers number is and what their duties are and what the duties of other officers are, I don't think the citizens truly have a clear picture of what our police force is. All we know is we have 146 sworn officers.
That's a good comment.
That's a very good question. I personally am a community service officer. My job when I'm on patrol is to take non-priority calls, meaning where your houses are broken into, vehicle collisions, just any type of theft report so that it can free up sworn officers so they can go out there and they can chase the bad guys. So they can go out to those armed robberies, so they can go out to those calls that are more violent. So I'm the more low level, or more on the low level. I do take a lot of reports, missing persons, stolen vehicles, theft reports. Those are all my responsibilities because those free up the officers to take the priority reports where there's violence involved. To be honest with you, I can't give you exact numbers, but I can give you a little more information on how our department works as far as sworn. So our days are broken up into 3 shifts. We have approximately about 10 officers per shift. Starting next signups, we are adding a 4th shift so that there'll be an overlay in shifts on day shift during the day. So we do obviously always have officers on. There's about 10 officers per shift. Does that answer your question, sir?
I know the question. I mean, I know the answer pretty much.
You just want everybody else to have an understanding.
I don't think the community really understands, and it may be something that can be put out in the city website.
Absolutely, and well, we can do that, but also our police department does beat meetings every year, And so we advertise those to the different police beats when they conduct it. They'll go around, and we encourage you guys to attend those because that's when the police chief comes out, and there's a lot more of it's definitely focused on the police department, everything all the services they provide. We can definitely get into, the chief can definitely get into their operational strategies around the city. So I think folks would really benefit from hearing that. I also want to highlight the volunteer and policing program that we have here in the city. So if any of you are interested, you can volunteer with the police department. And that's another resource in addition to CSOs that our police department has that enables our officers to do more policing out there. And that's why they're able to be more efficient with the resources that they have.
If you guys go online, you can actually learn more about our department. That's a great tool for you guys to look at too. We do have our organizational chart showing how many officers are assigned per shift, exactly how our department is broken up. A sworn officer, like our detective here, she's sworn, but she's not out patrolling. She does more the investigative, or does the investigative portion of reports after they've occurred. And then you have your patrol officer. So what happens every time every time an incident is reported, patrol officer, myself, we write up the report, it's reviewed, we make sure that all the criteria is there for the report. We gather all the information as much as we possibly can, any photos, camera footage, whatever. It's reviewed by our supervisor, then after it goes through the approval process, then it goes over to the detectives, and then they'll further investigate it. So each detective is assigned to a specific case. So, any questions on how our department works and the workflow, officers on the street? I hope that answered your question. Yes, ma'am.
Curious when we see 6, 7, 8 units show up. How, if 8 units, they are on one scene, is there any part of Elk Grove that isn't being covered?
All right, so our entire city is broken up into 5 beats. This is beat 4. So there are 2 officers usually assigned to every single beat. There's 2 officers who are assigned to this beat. So any crimes or anything that occur in this specific beat, collision, anything, those officers will respond. So no, we try to stay in our specific areas, but sometimes because if it's in close proximity, an officer is free in that area, they're not on a call. It doesn't mean that they're actually being taken away from their area and put over to another one unless it's a high priority call where they need backup. Sometimes they just go and see if the officer needs assistance, but they're still available. So just because you see them on scene, it doesn't mean that they're not available. The dispatcher is able to see where they're at because there's GPS systems on all of our vehicles, and they are still able to dispatch them to a call over in their specific area, their assigned area. Does that answer your question, ma'am? Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
So we've seen the reports that Mr. Champion's put out about the size of the force compared to other cities of relative size. And you talked to enlarging police force. What's the plan specifically to increase the size of officers on the street so they can more quickly respond to incidents? Because it's alarming to hear that the number of assaults is increasing. It's alarming to see that our police force is considerably smaller than that of relative cities.
So thank you for that question. Each year when we pass our budget, there's an allocation in there for a number of officers. Last year, or this most recent one, I think we have 4 officers that we'll hire this year's budget. And the plan is to do that for the foreseeable future. We'll just have to talk about it at council when we go through our budget process. There's conversations that happen, what the police chief will talk about with the city manager. And I don't know, Jason, if you want to touch upon any conversations you had with the police chief, you're welcome to. But the conversations that are happening, I know we've, this is before Jason's tenure, by the way. So they'll come back with a recommendation, and then we'll have conversations about and we approve it like other items in the budget. So it's just it's a matter of prioritizing. And then there's, but it is done in concert or consultation with the police chief, just so you know. So we're asking the professionals that we have on staff. you want to say?
Just maybe quickly. First I'll say is that the city council is very supportive of adding more police officers. We can only add so many new officers to absorb in our system in any given year, and so every request that the police chief has asked of the city council for funding has been approved. So we're going to continue to add officers as the city continues to grow. And one other thing that's interesting that was spoken of is the CSO. So when you look at kind of officers on a per capita basis, it doesn't take into account how many CSOs you have. And we as an organization have many more CSOs than other cities do. And so if you look at the entire organization, the number of employees we have for our police department, and compare that, you get a little bit different result. And the thing that the CSOs do is they relieve kind of the time that it takes to write some of the reports and so forth of some of the accidents or some of the petty theft and crimes, thereby allowing our sworn officers to concentrate on the higher profile or more dangerous crimes that are out there. So,
Okay, yeah. Well, if I could add just real quick. So the other limiting factor, though, and not necessarily today, but they're outgrowing their facilities. So we need to start planning, facilities planning, but also savings planning to pay for a new headquarters for them, so we can accommodate more officers. So that's something else we need to talk about in the future as well. Did you want to say something?
You was mentioning our volunteer fit program. I think you had mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. And the other I wanted to touch upon too. We talked. If folks didn't know, the greatest number of violent crimes in our city is due to domestic violence. Okay, and so one of the things we partner with Women Escaping a Violent Environment, WEAVE. So we have a WEAVE counselor on hand with our police department, And a while back, I spoke, because when I found that out, I spoke with Beth Hassett, who's the CEO of WEAVE, and I was asking her, how do we address this? How do we address this? This is domestic violence. This is in people's homes. This is behind the doors. That's the most violent. Most of the violent crimes are in our community. And so what she said was teaching kids how to have relationships. And so that's something that I would like to see in our school system as well, is to have people come in and talk to kids about healthy relationships. And so even if they're not getting that influence at home, let's say, at least they can learn from others what a healthy relationship should be like. And hopefully that'll help things in the future. Yeah, anything else?
Thank you. I think that I've heard that before, that 60% of the aggravated assaults in Elk Grove are from domestic violence, but I don't know. What do we think the aggravated assault, how many of those in like Roseville are domestic violence? Because I think that I'm comparing apples to apples, which is city to city, right? Elk Grove to Roseville to Folsom to Rockland. And we have significantly higher aggravated assaults than those cities, like twice as much. So I understand that a large amount are from domestic violence, but it still concerns me a lot, because a kid walking down the street and getting beat up for his sneakers 4 against 1 is aggravated assault. People getting held up at gunpoint walking down Elk Grove Boulevard, which has also happened recently, is aggravated assault. Those things scare me. Those are, our residents that are just going about their day getting held up at gunpoint. There were some reports of, mothers in parking lots at grocery stores getting robbed at gunpoint. And I understand every city has this. I do understand that. So this isn't for everybody to go running around freaking out that like their life is in immediate danger. That's not the case. I'm not trying to instill panic. But I am concerned that our numbers are twice as high as neighboring cities that we think are good high-class cities, much like Elk Grove. And so I have a mission to try to tackle that problem, and I'm hoping that we can hire a little bit more than 4 or 5 officers per year, because as we all know, our city does deal with attrition and police officers retiring, and we're also adding tens of thousands of people to our city. You can just drive around and look at all the houses, and there's some apartment complexes and things like that being built as well. So it's a problem. I know that coming up with funding to pay for it is a consideration. I'm not blind to any of that, but for me, the most important thing is the safety of my children walking to and from school or doing anything else. If they want to go to a park, they should be able to go to a park. And, you know, I just think, you know, we heard the numbers. There's 2, maybe 3 officers out per beat at a time. And, you know, there's much more high schools than that in that beat area. And it would just be really nice if officers were driving by those schools, right? And when our children are coming to and from school. And they can't do that if they're all involved in, I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but if there's another crime going on, then they're over busy somewhere else and they can't do that. And if the kids walking home from school never see a police officer, or they only see a police officer, you know, from our ones that are in our parking lots, then, you know that they can walk 6 blocks down the street and there's not going to be a police officer there. And, you know, I just think it could be more of a deterrent if we have more police officers. They see those police officers. You know, what else can we do? I don't know, but I'd like to see more police officers.
Do you know the percentage of what the budget is for Elk Grove PD?
It's about 58% that goes towards our PD. Another question back there?
Thank you. This is for our people from the police department, if you can hear me okay. Are you using any predictive analysis software for crime prevention, crime prediction, such as Analyst Notebook or CompStat, or a variation of those?
That's a great question. No, we are not. We currently don't. I wish I could give you more information. I personally don't know if there's anything in the near future that would help predict some predictive policing. I can't better answer that. We don't have anything in the works that is up and running, but I don't know about the future. I think that'd be more of a management question. I'm sorry, I can't answer that for you more appropriately.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a way to track, or if we know the crimes that occur here in Elk Grove, are they committed by residents, or do people come in from out of Elk Grove and commit these? And also with the incident that happened recently with the young child, I believe, and I'm not sure if it's correct, that they were students from a school in this school district. What's being done so that those kids don't continue committing those types of crimes?
Again, the detective, unfortunately, she had to leave. But as you know, and I don't know much about the case as far as the investigation, and I can't release that information anyways, but I do know that the persons that were responsible, as you know, were arrested, and that's the best we can do at this point. I don't know how the courts are going to handle it or what they're going to face in the future because of their actions. And the other question, I'm sorry, what was? Oh, the residents.
Yeah, from the residents versus outside people.
We do have a lot of crimes. First of all, we have to know who's committing the crime in order to give an factual answer. But a lot of our crimes that people are arrested, they do live out of our area. But we do have some residents of Elk Grove too that are responsible for some of our crimes. So again, I'm sorry I can't give you the exact numbers on that, but we'd have to know who the offender actually is in order to appropriately answer that question.
I understand that. So for those that are
We do. A lot of people who are arrested from outside, are residents of outside of our city.
So what can we do as a city to discourage people from our communities coming in here? I'm not sure if that's what Roseville or Buffalo are, people not going there.
Well, just personal information. Most of those crimes are theft crimes. So it's a matter of why are they here? Are they targeting our city because they know a lot of you guys are at work and your homes are free, your children are at school? Are they burglarizing your home because they assume no one's there because there's no cars in the driveway? All we can do is just best protect, not all we can do, but one thing we can best do is make sure we have the cameras or look out for each other or start neighborhood watch groups. There are things that we can do to empower ourselves as a community, because unfortunately we can't stop them from coming into the city, but we can stop them from breaking into our homes, victimizing our children, breaking into our cars, and that's why it's so important for us to work together as a community. So make sure that your lights are on in your house. Make sure that your kids are educated, not walking by themselves. I mean, and it is sad that we have to tell our kids they can't walk by themselves, but there is more empowerment in groups. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do as a community to try to prevent the crime the best we can. But it just depends why they're here. Is it maybe they're driving through a city looking to steal your vehicle? Can't stop them from coming in, but we can do the best we can to deter them from victimizing us. You're welcome.
Apart from crimes that are probably not reported, I think there's victims that are afraid to press charges to the people that are committing the crimes. What is the city or the PD doing about those crimes where the victim is afraid to press charges due to retaliation or anything like that?
Again, it depends on what the crime is. If somebody has been arrested, say such as a domestic violence case or an armed robbery case, once it gets to the DA's level, they don't have a choice. Once they're arrested, the person is arrested, that case is forwarded over to Sac County DA. The DA is the one that determines what happens in the next process of them getting in trouble for their actions. So even though, say, there's a domestic violence, if the victim decides that they don't want to press charges after the person's been arrested, they really don't have a say. It's up to the DA's office. And that same thing would be an armed robbery case or whatever. So does that answer your question?
I think the other thing to also understand, and I know this being an API person, is that some of us culturally are afraid to report an incident in fear of retaliation. And that actually happens a lot in your immigrant families and or limited English-speaking families. And that all I can say is that you've got to continue to encourage them to report it, because if it's not reported, it never happened. And that we support each other and we work with each other. I can't tell you how many times, I know the Vice Mayor said it earlier, that a lot of people like to do things on Facebook or Twitter or Nextdoor and post it there, but you really got to call it in. And really, if you can assist anybody in calling it in and educating them in the importance of calling it in, that's going to help all of us as a whole. I know, Mr. Champion, I'm going to put you on the spot here, but you're really good at putting neighborhood watch groups together, because you did one that's been really effective. And I think the one thing he did was he was consistent. He was always calling the police department. We all know him now, and that I think what happened is that that home, right, got fed up because they were always being visited by the department. And so again, it works. You continue to call it in when you see something, it works, because at some point they're going to move or they're going to leave because they don't want to be bothered again. Do you want to chime in a little bit about your neighborhood watch?
Yeah, some of the neighborhood watch, I guess, best practices that we use. We have a group text. You can only have so many people in a text message, so if your group exceeds the size that you can use for that, then you may want to either make it kind of like a phone tree or move to an app like Slack or something like that to have group communication. So what we do is when we see something going on, one of us calls it in, and then we message the rest of our neighborhood. And that gets their eyes on it as well, creates multiple witnesses, and then also multiple people that can call it in. Unfortunately, I sometimes have mixed results with how fast the police respond. I don't think that it's because the police don't want to be there. This is just my experience and in part of why I'm on my sort of crusade for more police officers. Because, you know, if you see a drug deal going on and you call it in, the drug deal is not going to be going on in 20 minutes when the police arrive. So it is what it is. You know, the PD does a great job with what they have. They really do. And the officers that have responded out have been great. Other best practices, sometimes you gotta dig for information. So find out if you have like a problem residence, right? If it's a one house, it's always the problem. Then figure out, you know, talk to the people if you can, try to resolve it locally. But if it doesn't, if it goes beyond that, try to figure out if they're renting or owning. You don't have to actually ask them. You can go on like the county assessor's webpage, you can find out who the owner of the house is. Try to contact them. Ask them to try to resolve it. Ask them to evict their tenants if it's warranted, right? I mean, if it's a constant nuisance in your neighborhood, then either they can address it with their tenants, or else it's warranted to evict their tenants. If they don't, then start getting the city and the police involved. Code enforcement is where you go for anything like grass that's like 2 feet tall, or garbage that's piling up and causing rodent insect infestations and stuff like that. Cars that are just like totally broken down, dilapidated, oil leaks, all that kind of stuff. The police is who you call if you know, they're getting into physical fights in the front yard, if they've got you know, unsafe cars, unregistered cars that are running stop signs or driving erratically, things of that nature. If you see drug sales or drug deals going on, short stay traffic, all that kind of stuff. But the main thing is to follow up over and over and over, keep a log. So however you want to do it, you keep an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook or whatever. Anytime that something's going on with that particular house, you've got to document it and keep a log. It'll help you in the long run, because as I've found out, if the homeowner wants to be really stubborn, then it actually will probably take like a court intervention. And in this case, the city's been really helpful. They actually did sue the homeowner. It's still ongoing. It's been about a little over a year and a half since we started with going to court. So prior to that, it was ongoing for about a year while the city was trying to you know, handle the municipal code violations and sending the police to their house. But that's the kind of stuff that the city's trying to work with, and God bless them for it, because it can be really difficult. And what I'd say is I'm starting a group, it's called Elk Grove Residents for Public Safety, and it surrounds more with how we can help the city. So coming up with ideas for municipal codes, and like in the case with the house that I have in my neighborhood, I've seen where the city kind of has their hands tied because of law, right? I mean, the city can't enforce something that isn't law. So we can help them by identifying these and coming up with where maybe we need to request that the law be amended or the municipal code be amended. Sometimes the city can do that, sometimes it's a state issue. The city can, you know, perhaps work with the state and try to adjust it, but that's what that's focusing on. But we do all have to do our part. You know, the city has got to do their part. It really is a partnership. But I'd be happy if anybody's trying to start up a neighborhood watch group or anything. I'm more than welcome. You can email me or reach out on the Facebook page, and I'll talk to you about whatever I've dealt with and what I've found out. Hopefully I can make it a little easier on you if you're dealing with a nuisance or problem or something like that.
To piggyback off of Mr. Youngman's neighborhood watch, if you guys do have those problem homes in your neighborhood and they're just causing a lot of problems, we do have a division, the POP team, that's a problem-oriented policing. Like I said, our city is broken up into 5 divisions, 5 beats. We do have a POP officer assigned to every single beat, and their job is to, those problem houses or those problems that are going on in your neighborhoods that that patrol can't solve, it's just ongoing. Say their music is too loud, or, you know, they're really nothing criminal has happened, but it's just an ongoing problem, say neighborhood disputes. We do have our POP officers who will be assigned to that case, and they will try their best to come to a reasonable conclusion for that situation. So if you guys have that problem home in your neighborhood, just keep calling us, because the more you call us, the more it goes on the radar for our POP division, and then they can look into solving that problem for your neighborhood. Does that answer your question, Stephanie? Anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
I think we have an online question.
Nate, are we getting online? Nate, are you okay? Want to give your email out, or would you be all right with doing that?
Yeah, that's fine. NathanChampion@hotmail.com.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Steph.
Okay. I'm Jacqueline Chung, also known as Jax of Elk Grove Tribune and Jax Chronicles. I have an online question coming in from Lourdes Lamb. She says, sorry Sandra, I was supposed to be there. I'm a Franklin High School board member, and this is my question. I noticed this last incident there were 4 students all under the age of 18. When does Elk Grove PD start enforcing these who you can drive rules? I see them while I drive my daughter to school with 3 or 4, and they are not siblings. These young drivers tend to race or do things when there's a group.
Sorry, I couldn't hear that. When will they enforce what?
So the question says, I noticed this last incident there were 4 students all under the age 18. When does Elk Grove PD start enforcing these who you can drive rules? I see them while I drive my daughter to school with 3 or 4, and they are not siblings. These young drivers tend to race or do things when there's a group of them.
The best I can answer that question is we do have a traffic division. If there's an ongoing problem at our neighborhood, or excuse me, at our schools, we do assign our motor officers to those schools at that time. Now, if they do notice that maybe they're not following the DMV codes for California, they can initiate a stop if they're, breaking our traffic laws. But as far as anything more traffic, I can't answer that question any better than that. But if the officers, our motor officers or any officer in the neighborhood are doing enforcement at that time, and they do conduct a traffic stop, and they do find that they're underage and they're not siblings, then they would deal with it as such.
Thank you. Any other questions out there? Yep. Okay. You?
My name's Lisa.
Lisa.
I had a question about I see a lot of online because I work from home, and I virtually do have access to social media. And I've noticed a lot of reports of missing girls. Like there was a week, 2 weeks in there were 4 young girls who were reported missing. And then nothing ever followed up with, they were found. There was a couple of them that came through that they were found safe. Is there a access for any of us who do forward on those? Because once you get social media out there, it's a great, tool to utilize because it gets the children in the public view, just like the Amber Alerts. So what are we going to do, or where can we really find out whether that child was recovered safely, so we don't pass them on and on and on and on and on?
I'm not sure if there's an exactly right answer to that, but a lot of time it's the citizens, the family members. They're the ones who put those out on Instagram and Facebook, looking for your guys' help to help them find their missing loved one. A lot of times, even though they've been found, I personally, on my personal Instagram, I've seen where it continues to go forth. In one instance, it wasn't the Elk Grove Police Department, it was SAC PD's missing person. I honestly cannot tell you if all those young ladies have returned home or if they have been found. But in a lot of cases, it's the family who put those out on Instagram, and it's the citizens who are continuing to try to assist them. maybe on some of the websites, the department websites such as SAC PD or, SAC County, they may have that information on there that missing person has been located, but that can't stop people forwarding that information on the social media accounts.
That was what I was looking for, is there a site that somebody could go to that could ascertain whether that child had been, found safe, and then they could virtually report it on social media that, hey, that child's been found? Because I've done that several times where I've been told that the child was found safe, and then I've reported it when somebody else reported it. It kind of stops it, but I didn't know if there was a resource that somebody could go to.
Well, I'm sorry. We do have public information officers, especially on our at-risk missing adults. They do put that information out there. We do our best to try to let you guys know that missing adult has been located, or that missing child has been located. A lot of times, it depends on which agency. Again, I can't really give you a straightforward answer because it depends on the policy and procedures of that department, how they run it. We don't have anything online saying, hey, this person has been located, unless our public information officer is the one who put that information out, and they'll let you know what anything to start.
Yeah, Lisa, are you looking for like maybe a web page that just has folks that,
Place that can say that this child has been found safe,
yeah.
so it can be reported.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll take that back for sure. Thanks. Let's see if
Any other questions? Comments? We got another 5 minutes. Another online question? No? Mr. Vice Mayor, there are no other questions?
No other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, well, if there's nothing else out there, then we want to thank all of you coming out. I want to thank Officer Ramirez and Sham for coming out as well. Can we give them a hand, please?
And our PTA mom and Mr. President.
Yes.
And thank you to Elk Grove Laguna Farms for live streaming this, and for Elk Grove Tribune also.
If you have further questions, don't hesitate to contact any of the council members. We talked about Sandra, with also Nathan is another resource if you want to set up a neighborhood association, or if you have questions about what Nathan's using in terms of the app that they use to inform each other. And with
Again,
that,
there's also another community meeting at the chambers.
yeah, that's right, Friday night.
Similar to this, right?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit similar. So what folks don't know, there is a association that was formed, but it includes Councilmember Detrick's and my districts 1 and 3, but it also includes Sacramento City Council districts 7 and 8. So in my opinion, and what we've seen, community doesn't stop at a city boundary line, right? So there's some folks that recognize that, and they've been holding these meetings, and Councilmember Detrick's been really great in talking with them, and I've met with them a few times. I think most of the councils even met with the HOA. And so we're gonna host a community forum at City Hall on Friday at 6 o'clock. If you live in District 1 or 3, I think it'd be worthwhile for you to come on out and hear some things that's going on in the city.
And lastly, I think we're going to do more of these community forums, but as you can see, it shouldn't take an incident for something like this to happen. I encourage you to encourage your neighbors, your friends, your family to come out, because we can't do this without all of you here, and we need all of your help too. And I think we need all of you to help us spread the word. We need all of you to help us get other folks involved in the community, and we need all of you to continue to be here as well. So for us to do more of these community meetings, we just need more people involved. I appreciate you all spending your evening with us. I know a lot of you have small children, I do as well too, but this is really important. This is really important to me, it's important to all of us, and obviously it's important to you, but we need you to encourage more people to come to these.
I want to thank you, Councilmember Wynn, for spearheading this, so thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody. See you later.